Hello everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic day, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the treasure spawn they kind of came back out with. It's been the one where they came out with the Stellar Gods and the, what do they call it, the Warlords, but this one's actually going to be with the Mortal Sins included, so let's actually talk about this one, because this one's not a solid yes or no. This one kind of requires some attention and some thought, unless you're endgame and you have all the not materials, but like gear you can have in the game. You should be good. It was so not. So let's actually get into this one. Okay, so first thing I want to mention is double chance will not activate. So each time you actually spawn, you're only getting one treasure chest guaranteed. You're not getting two treasure chests at all for the spawn whatsoever. Is that not going to roll like that for a regular treasure spawn? This is the first time half off for 15 gems. Afterwards, you're going to be spawning this for 30 gems. You're getting one ether piece and one metal each time you do this. I miss when they had the awakening orb or the droplet of ether full. Especially considering now it's like 30 gems instead of 15. When they first came out with this concept of a spawn, it was 15. Now it's 30, so that kind of sucks. But anyways, let's actually get into this and see what they have to offer. No rates up. I'm assuming, yeah, there's no rates up. Actually, less than usual rates for you actually in the spawn tend to even get an SSR, let alone any of the actual featured gear, because they got no rates up for that at all. So that's not going to be really a way to obtain it, and it's going to be quite inefficient to actually obtain any piece of any gear that's actually going to be featured in here through the spawn 10. So the only other two ways is through the metal exchange and the chest. So let's actually go over those and see what they got to offer. Okay, so treasure box 1. And by the way, I seen in the comments some time ago that somebody was asking me, so when you actually spawn, do they go in order? Do you get these in order? So like first time you're spawning, do you get treasure box 1, and then like second time you spawn, do you get like a treasure box 2 right here? And the answer is no. This is just how they're organizing it to show you what they actually have to offer. So you can do it on your first time and get treasure box 3 or 4. It's random. It's complete. Well, it's not completely random. It has some narrowness, some algorithms to actually follow a path to where rates are going to go and where rates are not going to go. But for the most part, for general purposes, let's say it's random, completely random. Anyways, moving on from there. Okay, so the first one we got is going to have the 7 deadly sins. I don't know why I keep saying mortal sins. The 7 deadly sins weapons, and it's also going to have all of the stellar god weapons in here. Now keep in mind, when it comes to rates and spawning, the lower the cost, the higher the rates. So let alone you getting the actual weapon of your class, you're going to have to be lucky enough to get, on top of that, one of the 7 deadly sin weapons, because there's a high chance for you to get a stellar god versus a 7 deadly sin weapon in the first treasure spawn, so, or the first treasure box. So that right there is already extremely iffy as it is. But treasure box 2 is definitely more better and more helpful towards really almost anybody, to be fairly honest. With treasure box 2, they have the 7 deadly sins armor, and they got the stellar god armor. The reason I'm saying that is because if you don't have either, both are pretty dang helpful. Now they're not going to be always helpful 24/7. So with the stellar god stuff, it has this skill called damage reduction, and it's the only armor in the game that actually has the skill called damage reduction. It's pretty much like a physical and a magical armor up in one skill. So if you add one physical and one magical armor up, that counts as 2 defensive constant skills, and you can't add any more. When instead, if you have these, you can get double the effect of both of those skills. And a fun fact is these have 6 elemental each if you actually defense. Each element for it has 6 elemental defense each if you actually manage to reforge it to ultra rare. So that's a little fun fact right there. The reason I'm saying this is good is this is one of those ways, this is one of those things people use to actually tank unison damage. Like, they can they can absorb unison damage, because damage reduction works against unison damage also, on top of like any incoming damage you're actually going to be receiving, around the amount that it's actually going to reduce for each skill. By the way, I'm talking like level 5, I believe, so you still got level 6 and 7. It might boost a little further, but it's going to be around 10%, so that right there is a fun fact. And then these right here have the opening called dual attack. Now, This right here is kind of an iffier skill. The reason I'm saying that is because for guild battles, at least, like duel rooms and coliseums, this is going to be pretty OP and people are going to be devastating each other in that. But for guild battles, unless you're like a rook that has devote, having dual wield or dual attack, I meant to say, is you're not going to start off with a lot of cost. So that right there is why I'm saying like dual attack is not going to be all too, like, it's not going to be all too, like, it's not made for guild battles. You don't need it whatsoever because you're going to have low cost in the first place. It sure can be helpful for some abilities and what's not, but again, you got to consider the cost on top of it. Cooldown time is very, very helpful if you got 0 cooldown time, but if you got no cost to use your moves, then there's nothing you can really do. For duel rooms and coliseums, though, I heard they bumped up the cost starting to like 50, so you should be able to shred people easily if you got dual attack in those. But for guild battles, not too helpful. That's personally what I really care for overall in this game is guild battles. I don't really care for coliseum, I don't really care for duel rooms. I don't really care for player versus enemy anymore. So that right there is pretty much Treasure Box 2 and what they got going for Treasure Box 2. And of course, the lower the cost, the higher the rates. That's the last time I'm going to mention this. For everything they got in these treasure boxes, the lower the cost, the higher the rates. So keep that in mind when you're actually looking at these. Okay, so moving on from there, we got Treasure Box 3. All of the Mortal Sins are in here. And then on top of it, you're going to have all of the Stellar Gods in here as well. Just like how you would regularly get these should have random stats, by the way. They say max stats, that means they don't have set in stone stats. And because of that, like these right here have set in stone stats. The Mortal Sins don't have set in stone stats, so on top of like getting lucky enough to even get a Mortal Sin, it's going to be a random stat. So keep that in mind, that if you're going for this for like the Mortal Sin stuff, it looks like, except for like maybe the armor, because the Stellar God armor is also helpful. By the way, if you're going for the Mortal Sin stuff, there's a very low chance to actually get the stuff. You want to consider some of the other stuff in here also, and whether you need it or not. If you don't need some of the other stuff in here, or would not like some of the other stuff in here, I wouldn't worry about this. You want to make sure when you're doing the spawn that you have stuff you want. You want more stuff than just the Mortal Sins. If you just want the Mortal Sins, I don't recommend this. It's probably going to have low rates to actually get that stuff in the first place. Okay, so moving on from there, we got the Treasure Box 4. It's going to have the first sets of art ofs in the game for Unison League. These right here are very, very good. The gear score they give may not be top tier anymore, but the skill it has is absolutely phenomenal and still used towards this day. Especially in like really anything. Less on player versus enemy though, and heavily on player versus player. Not everybody needs to be using these in your team, whether you're doing duel rooms, coliseums, or guild battles, but definitely a few people having these. Very good, very essential, very helpful. If you wonder why people have get Unison quickly, like you ever watch the tournaments, people get Unison quickly, they generally have a lot of art ofs on, more defensive skills than offensive skills. If you ever actually never noticed, the people usually get Unison a lot quicker getting attacked and surviving rather than attacking. So that's just a little heads up right there. But anyways, moving on from there, keep in mind, again, random weapons, so it's not going to be guaranteed the weapon of your class. But we got the for Treasure Box 5, I think it's not the last one. I don't know why I thought it was the last one. We have the art of armors, and armors go for any class, so right there, very, very good, very, very helpful to start off with, and definitely can help out for scenarios and situations if you like art ofs, if you need art ofs, because art ofs help get Unison quickly, they really do. And they don't have bad proc rate either. Something I didn't mention right away, if you're wondering if they have bad proc rate, they absolutely don't have bad proc rate. And if you have like concentration skills to help boost the proc rate of like the stuff in the main slot, and you have these in your main slot, you're going to be getting Unison quite quickly. Especially if you're like the soldier or treasure hunter, you're going to be getting Unison phenomenally quickly, like in 10 to 20 seconds within like the battle. So anyways, moving on from there, in the last treasure box, we have all of the warlords in here. So something fancy about both the warlords and the Mortal Sins is they're the only monsters in the game besides this, I think it's the Super United Offense monsters that offer By Super United Offense, I mean these guys over here. If I could show you if they have one right now, these guys right here. They're the only ones in the game that actually offer 2 elemental as a monster. Though with the Mortal Sins and the Warlords, you gotta awaken them. If you don't awaken them, you're not going to get that extra elemental boost that they actually have to offer. So right there, very, very cool. The only ones that actually are random are Liatsu and Misanari when it comes to stats. Everything else has fixed stats. So no matter how many times you pull the monster, they're going to have fixed stats around that surrounding scenario and situation. So they have an exclusive monster guarantee ticket within the actual Metal Exchange. If you go for that, we got all of the Mortal Sins in here, so it's nice they actually offer at least a way to guarantee you to them. And then select weapon/defense guarantee ticket, where they offer these in here. So that right there, very, very cool that they have that and everything surrounding that, where they actually at least guarantee them, but it's kind of expensive. You need to spawn 12 times to even do the monster, and you need to spawn at least 10 times to even get the weapon/defense guarantee ticket. And pretty much that's 30 gems each time you spawn. After the first time half off, it's 30 gems, so it's pretty expensive. Anyways, moving on from there, they have most of everything in here from the Metal Exchange that you can actually get in here, except for the Mortal Sin stuff, which is really, really weird. It'd be definitely very awesome if they did that. I think a lot more people would spawn this, including the actual whales, if they actually had them in here. But regardless of so, some of the stuff, most of the stuff they have, some of the lower cost stuff they have in here, if you're interested in grabbing some more of it, you can grab it in here. And holy smokes, the Stellar God armors are only 4 medals. That's not all too bad. I think that's like what, 115 gems. That's expensive as a free to play. I am right now currently at this moment going free to play. I might become a little pay to win in the future. I'm not exactly sure, but anyways, that's not bad, especially considering that I don't have them infused fully yet. If I had them infused fully, they would be much more of a helpful skill, and I could probably tank a little better at least, if not better for sure. So that's all I gotta really say about the spawn. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching, and I hope this helped out. This is the AzureWrath, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'm out. Peace.